Hello, welcome back, and we're doing a review of the Elegoo Centari Carbon. And if you've probably heard of this before, this printer's been out a while. A lot of the videos came out when it was first released in February, so a lot of the bigger YouTube channels had them and had done their tests on them. And the only way for the rest of us to get them was on a pre-buy. And once those started shipping, I learned that they were available. So I decided, you know what? I'll go to the Elegoo US web store and buy one with my own money and try it out. And that's what I've done here today. I received mine, as I mentioned, direct from Elegoo. From time of order to arrival was about 4 days, so that was excellent. And as you can see on the desk here, what I do with my 3D printer reviews is I put all kinds of stuff through it and then report the results to you guys. So that's what I did, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the results of some of these prints, and we're going to talk about this printer. If you like videos like this, I would love it if you check out my Patreon. I have several levels of membership where you can help support me. I love doing stuff like this, but the YouTube algorithm is brutal. So anything I can get for support from my audience, I truly appreciate. Thank you for watching. So we've got the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, and this version is improved from what the earlier folks got with their pre-purchase. Doesn't sound very fair, does it? But I guess they offered upgrades to some of the things that were improved, for example, like the LED lighting inside this printer. However, this one has a plug in the back for a future AMS plugin. So like the Bambu Lab machines that can do automatic material systems, this one has one coming out shortly as well too. So let me step back 1 second. First of all, my name is Paul. This is my channel where nerdy is cool. I've been in 3D printing for over a decade. Got my first 3D printer in 2013, an Ultimaker original kit. And then fast forward to now, I've even worked full-time in research for a research organization where that was my job, was 3D printing. So I've worked with little printers, medium printers, to advanced giant 3D printers. So I'm not going to say I know everything, but I have a lot of experience, and that's what I want to share with you in this review. So in front of me, I have all of these wonderful prints, but let's talk about, first of all, what this machine is. It has a similar build volume as the Bambu Lab A1, the P1S, and the P1P, and the X1 Carbon. It's 256 by 256 by 256. Inside this thing is a PI textured bed surface, and on the other side is a flat surface, so you can choose between those. The other thing that's going on inside is, on mine, I have added a Voxel Bento Box, and it does fit inside on the side without too much issue. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it also has, in the back part, it has an intake for air and it has an outlet for air. And that outlet has a activated charcoal filter. So it's supposed to do a good job of reducing some of the nasties. It does have a glass cover, and the glass cover does have a decal saying to remove for printing with PLA or PETG. Something I disagree with, we'll talk about later. The other thing going on inside here is we get the improved lighting. We have the webcam, which does an excellent job of capturing time lapses. The hot end, it's a direct drive extruder, nothing too remarkable. It's a 0.4 hot end, and it's a brass nozzle, but it has the nozzle's brass, but on the inside of that is a hardened steel nozzle to it. So you can run fiber reinforced materials, for example, glass fiber or carbon fiber or glow-in-the-dark material if you happen to use those. So it's equipped, as the name indicates, with carbon to be able to handle those hardened materials. As I mentioned, that hot end can go up to 320 degrees Celsius, and looking around here, as far as materials, it can handle PLA, it can handle PETG, it can handle ABS, ASA, TPU, PET, PC, and PA, which is nylon. The other thing it has up front here is a nice little LCD screen, and nothing too remarkable about it, but it certainly beats the old Marlin displays for those of us that have been playing with CR10s and Enders and those kind of printers before. It's easy to set up. As I mentioned, I placed my order. It showed up 4 days later, and it was basically a matter of pulling it out of the box. Nothing really fancy here with this unboxing video. Got all the packing out, removed the screws where they said to remove screws, and it went through its automatic calibration process, and you're ready to go. However, On mine was screeching. Okay, so we definitely get some noises coming on, and I did a little searching. So it seems to be this guy, because it's, I'm gonna put this guy back on. So it's not the fans here, it's definitely this. So I don't know what the fix is. See, if I touch it, it goes away. So I had posted on social media going, what is this terrible noise? And I did send off an email to support. Support replied the next day asking for a video so they could get a better indication of what was going on. And they did send me some instructions on how to take the hot end cover off. It's just held on by magnets, and how to get into the other part of the shroud, the printhead shroud, which are the 4 screws. And in my case, it was a hot end fan, and it seems like that hot end fan was either over tightened or something was wrong there. So the advice was basically to remove the screws, put the screws back on. If that didn't fix it, let them know they would send replacement parts. In my case, for whatever reason, loosening those screws and then snugging them back in removed all the problem. For software, now if you have Orca already, they do have the Elegoo Carbon, Centauri Carbon rather, in there as an option, but it seems like it might be missing a few things based on what I've been following on the various social media threads. The Elegoo slicer that comes with this, you can also download it from their website, is customized to work with this printer. And for this series of tests that I did, I just used their custom slicer. And it was, if you're familiar with Orca or familiar with using the Bambu slicer, it wasn't terribly hard to work with. The other part of this is the network functionality. So what you do on the LCD screen is you connect it to your wireless network. And again, no real secrets here. It finds it. And one of the things you'll notice once you add that to your network is this will prompt that there's an update. And if it doesn't, you can go through the menus and have it check. And it will update itself, just as you've seen on Bambu Lab machines and others. The other thing is on the Elegoo slicer, you can click on the button to connect it. The front display screen will display the IP address it's located on your network. You enter that into the slicer, and then when you go into the device tab, you're able to see what's going on inside your machine. You'll have the camera view, as well as you'll see what the temperatures are and stuff like that. Okay, as I alluded to, what I do with my machines is I find great big stacks of filament and run them through and see what happens. So for the first series of 3D prints, what I did was I grabbed a spool of Polymaker PLA and did several prints with that. And I have some test prints here that I can show off on camera. A lot of these were already on the machine itself, stored internally. For example, the Eiffel Tower, the Benchy, and the vase. And one of the prints that I love to do is the kitten print, because it has a lot of these overhangs. And what I did is I upscaled this several times and created this large version of the cat, and it came out fantastic. Okay, well, as the name references, it can handle carbon materials. So what I did is I have this wonderful material that I got from Zyltech, and this is their carbon fiber PLA. And I found this excellent model online of Batman from the 1989 movie, and it did this beautiful print. The first one, I had a lot of noticeable layer lines up top, so I went through with the Elegoo slicer and I decided to enable the adaptive layers to make them really thin layers as I got near the top, so you wouldn't have the huge rings at the top of his head here. And as you can see, it had no issues with that carbon fiber PLA at all, and really great looking print. So we did PETG next, and I decided to use Voxel's PETG, the high-speed PETG they have. It's clear, and the only recommendation, you look at their website, they recommend is that for their particular PETG, they suggest for the first layers and all remaining layers to be at 265. So essentially in the profile, I just had to make that one change in the slicer, and from there, here are the excellent prints I got. I did a kitten with the normal scale, and then I did a Benchy, and I did the mini calibration test here. And as you can see, they look really great here, and we'll put those under the camera so you can see them. Next up was carbon fiber PETG. So I happen to have a spool of Eryone carbon fiber PETG. And instead of just printing these cats and other benchies and stuff like that, I decided to find a more useful print, something that after this video is done, I can utilize these things. So what I found was these stackable boxes, and I did a large one and a medium one, so they could be stacked on top of each other. So the first one I did here, this is the PETG and carbon fiber using the default PETG CF profile in the slicer. And as you can see here, it looks great. No issues whatsoever doing that. And as you can see from the overhangs and such where those little slots are there, no issues whatsoever. Okay, this was a new one for me. This was a Zyltech's PETG, but it's glass filled. And again, doing these different materials, I referenced their website as far as nozzle temperature ranges and such like that, any special instructions, and the default PETG settings worked perfectly fine for me. So here you can see the results, and again, I was really impressed, having never printed with glass fibers before, but it was really easy. And the result is it looks really, really great. So if you're wondering the difference between glass fiber, carbon fiber, if you're going to deal with any kind of electrical stuff or whatever, that tends to block signals. So depending on what your product is going to be, or your part rather, is going to be used for, the glass doesn't have that issue, and extremely rugged. Okay, next up, this was Zyltech ABS, and I don't do a lot of ABS 3D printing in my house. I usually stick to PETGs and PLAs for the projects I work on, so it was fun to do this. And again, knowing that this 3D printer doesn't have a chamber heater, I was really curious how well that ABS would perform, given the printer only gets to about 31, 32 degrees Celsius. But as you can see with the results of these ABS prints, they came out great, no issues whatsoever. Okay, ASA, something I've never printed before, and I refer to the instructions from Zyltech because it's Zyltech ASA Pro, and they indicate that it needs to be dried before use, which I did. And also, I decided to get my smaller Sunlu filament dryer, and instead of using the spool on the side here, I fed the material directly from the dryer after it had already dried for 4 hours. So there was no chance I was going to have any wet filament going through here. And the prints, the first one, I did 2 of them side by side, and the first one came out great. But the second one had some lifting near one corner. And that seems to be a little bit of an issue with this printer, because it definitely, based on the specs of the material, it really wants to be inside a heated chamber. So ASA is going to be a struggle depending on, it could be, just a matter of the filament brand or type of ASA you use, but my experience with this one here was it really wants a warmer printer than what this one can offer. Again, first one pulled it off, but the second one, and I did a few tests after, and I had a few issues with those parts also wanting to curl up on me. Let's see if it's happy with, you can hear it lifting. So that's probably the only fail I had for this 3D printer, was printing the ASA consistently. You're probably going to notice inside my Centauri Carbon, I do have the Voxel Bento Box inside. Not only does that do an excellent job of, because it has the HEPA filter and activated charcoal there, so it's capturing all these nasty VOCs, it also adds a little bit of airflow to the 3D printer. So I did not remove the lid from my 3D prints. I left the lid on, and you really shouldn't have to take the lid off of a 3D printer to print these kind of materials. It just does not get that hot inside of here. But if you're interested in a Voxel Bento Box and reducing some of the harmful nastiness inside your 3D printer, there's a link down below where you can get one. And this one happens to work really great, and every 6 months I swap out the activated charcoal and HEPA filter for replacements, and feel better about it. One question I've seen asked a lot on the Facebook groups and other places where they discuss the Elegoo Centauri Carbon has been noise. And honestly, it's not the loudest 3D printer I've ever owned. And trust me, I've had some real screamers. This one's not bad at all. Here I've got some video of when it's setting up for the print and then when it's printing the first layer. The chamber fan on mine doesn't kick on a whole lot for some reason. You'll hear it initially, but during the majority of the prints I was doing, didn't hear it at all, and you can see in the decibel range it really wasn't crazy. One thing to bear in mind if you're going to go from low temperature stuff to high temperature stuff and then back is some of that stuff can accumulate in the nozzle and the hot end. So that's why I have the Wham Bam nozzle maintenance kit. And as a matter of fact, I 3D printed a little toolkit here in case. So if you wind up with a jam and stuff like that, you have all the tools right here. The other thing they include some cleaning filament. And what I did after I'd gone from PLA all the way to ASA, what I decided to do was there's you can remove the Bowden tube. It's just a press-on. And you remove it, heat up the hot end to whatever the temperature of the highest material you had in there before. In my case, it was 260. And I just manually fed through some of that cleaning filament, and basically it's purging out any residue that's left in there. And I just kept on pushing and manually extruding it for about, well, I think it was about 90 or 120 millimeters worth of material. You can do more. And it was coming through clear, so I had no more gunk. Pulled it out of there, and I'm ready to go with these low temp things. So link down below if you're interested in something like that. But again, jams can happen, and it's great to have a toolkit and all the things you need to keep the thing cleaned out and working optimally. Okay, I didn't mean to tease you, but let's talk about the pros and cons, or likes and dislikes, whatever you want to call it. So what do I like? As I mentioned, the price, $299. It's an enclosed 3D printer. It's a metal frame. You have a decent web camera. You have decent lighting. You have a hot end that is a hardened hot end, so it's already set to go for the more complicated materials, your carbon fibers or your glass filled, whether it's PLA with CF or GF, whatever. It can handle all of that stuff. Again, it's fairly quiet. I haven't heard this thing being really a screamer or anything like that. It has a nice LCD screen, and if you have to call customer service, they're actually responsive. I haven't had that luck with a lot of other manufacturers. When I had issues, I called customer service. I got an email back within 12 hours, and then they asked for the video to get a better idea of what my complaint was, and they replied with meaningful instructions that eventually resolved the issue. So those are all very positive things to say about this machine. But now let's move on to the things I dislike about this machine. So the biggest pet peeve I have is requiring that the top lid be removed for printing with PLA or PETG. If you're going to sell an enclosed 3D printer, it should be able to 3D print with the enclosure on top. You don't have to do this with other 3D printers that have enclosures like this, X1 Carbon, P1S, stuff like that. They're able to thermally regulate and manage themselves. If it's getting too warm for what it thinks for PLA or PETG should be, it will vent accordingly. But again, that's one of the issues, is that this thing does not know what is loaded inside the machine. It doesn't have any idea if it's PLA, PETG, ABS. It's just printing whatever was sent to it from the slicer or via the USB drive. So that's one thing there. On all of my 3D prints, I had the cover on. I didn't want the noise. It's very noisy with that lid off. And I did install the Bento Box inside, which does fit perfectly. There's a link down below if you want to get one for yourself. And it was very easy to route the wiring to power the Bento Box because there was an AMS plug in the back of this machine, and it's very easy to fit the little power wires back to the back of this thing. The other thing I didn't like is out of the box, this is a quality control thing for me. After I went through all of that stuff with the first time setup, that fan was screeching. How no one noticed that on the assembly line when they're putting these together baffles me. So honestly, printers shouldn't leave the factory with the fan screeching at 90 decibels. So that was frustrating because, again, and it's kind of a running joke here on my channel, is that I get these printers sent to me or I purchase them, and they all say they're going to be up and running in 15 minutes, and very rarely is that the issue. And this was one of those ones that had an issue. 15 minutes in, I'm trying to figure out why that fan is screaming at me. So wasn't crazy about that. Now let's talk about their slicer. It's too bad that they're not working directly with the Orca, the mainstream slicer. They have their own version and it works okay, that's fine. But I really wish it had some more material profiles in there. For example, like what Bambu Lab has, with their slicer, or Orca has. It would have been nice if there were pre-made material profiles for Polymaker or Voxel, or, insert your favorite material here. Maybe they'll do that in the future, but it would have been nice to see some of those pre-made for you, because this is an extremely popular printer at $2.99, and not everyone's going to be using Elegoo filament for them. The other thing that's concerning about this is we're learning that the version of clipper that's on here is quite dated and very old. And there are other people out there that have done videos on this that know clipper way better than I do, but basically I do have some concerns that this machine is fun, and yes, it prints very quickly and does good prints, but if the operating system on there is extremely dated, well, what's my upgrade path? Is this, will the hardware support newer versions of Clipper? So there's a lot of question marks remain to be seen. And speaking of, quality assurance or quality control, some of the posts I've seen on social media, and again, I understand you very rarely hear praise on social media or when people, post things about their 3D printers. It's predominantly complaints and issues. I get that. But one of the things I'm seeing a lot is I'm seeing a lot of the print heads coming apart. The print head moves so fast that it's too much for the magnets to keep the faceplate on, and it throws it off. And that's not like a onesie or twosies. I've seen a lot of these. And I've seen a lot of people come up with clever solutions to make lighter or better or improved hot end covers, to remedy that. But honestly, that's, we shouldn't see hot ends flinging themselves apart on a brand new machine. The other thing I've seen a lot of is bent nozzles, and a lot of people will just notice it out of the blue. It's been printing fine, and suddenly my nozzle's bent. What's going on? So there's been a lot of that. And the concern is that this printer is so popular, it seems like they're struggling to keep up with the consumables. For example, I saw the posts about people having bent nozzles, and I thought, well, if mine gets bent, I don't have any replacements, let me order some. Well, I did place an order, and it just arrived today, but I mean, it took 3 weeks to get them. So I understand the demand and keeping caught up, but if these printers are going to fling themselves apart or bend their nozzles, it'd be nice to know that there's a rapidly available supply to replace these parts. So that's interesting. Okay, and the last couple here. So as I mentioned with the Bambu Labs and the app, I really wish this thing had an app as well too. It'd be really nice to see what's going on. I understand there's some third-party stuff going on with Octoprint and some other Octo devices that will connect to this and let you know what's going on. But it'd be really, really great. If this thing at $2.99 is going to be competing with Bambu Lab and other manufacturers, they do have those kind of tools. It'd be nice if this one had it as well. The other thing that I have is that I've noticed people that have had issues with their 3D printers is that there's a very short, limited amount of time where the manufacturer will take them back. So if they will at all. So if you're on the fence about getting this kind of 3D printer, or this, I'm sorry, if you're on the fence about getting this 3D printer and you're concerned you might have an issue, you might want to consider buying your 3D printer from a reseller that has a generous return policy. Say Amazon.com, or perhaps someone like Matter Hackers, I think, is also a reseller. So a couple of things to bear in mind if you're nervous about you might have issues and need to return it. All right, we've come to the end of the video. Summary, what should you do? I don't know, because for $299, mine has printed exceptionally well. You've listened to my likes, you've listened to my dislikes, and mine just happens to work really, really well. I haven't had the issues others have had. I will say, as my grand summary, is this machine comes off as a lot less refined machine, say for example like the Bambu Lab machines. So again, I have concerns about the version of Clipper that's on here. What kind of upgrade path does this have? Can this have a chamber heater added to it? And how well is the AMS going to perform, when they release that? So there's a lot of I don't knows. So there you go. I've made it clear as mud. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see what I'm up to, check out my social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, /X, and of course, here on YouTube. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I look forward to your comments in the comment section down below. And remember, please print safe.